Hello, Soul Family. I am Shannon with Quantum Heart Conversations, and I am here with Leanne Venier, and we are going to deep dive on the topic of healing the root of dis-ease, including illness, pain, and injuries. And a little bit about Leanne. She is an international award-winning artist, engineer, Eastern medicine physician, inventor, and expert in science of color. She's also an expert in health and anti-aging, and we are definitely going to tap into a lot of this today of her expertise. So Leanne, do you want to give a little more brief information about yourself, or we can just tap in?
Okay, well, I'll just give a little bit of background. So as you mentioned, my background is in engineering, and I left that a long time ago, became an Eastern medicine physician, and then 17 years ago started teaching about the science behind the healing effects of color and light, and then adding in later quantum energy medicine. I teach at a lot of major medical universities, get invited to speak at medical conferences, work directly with a lot of medical doctors in my community, the REDjuvenator community, as well as beyond that, and teach literally tens of thousands, if not millions of people, lay people around the world about the science behind the healing effects of color, light, energy medicine, and healing at the root of illness and disease. So there's a lot more to my background and bio. People can go to my website if they want to know more, but we're going to talk about this, focusing on the topic of literally healing at the root instead of focusing on chasing symptoms and not thinking from a chemistry perspective, but thinking from an energy and frequency perspective about how healing actually can occur in the body and be permanent, not just temporary fixes.
Yeah, I love it. And again, I met Leanne quite a while ago. She was at our biohacking conferences back in the day with Dave Asprey. And so from there is where I heard of REDjuvenator, and I do actually own a REDjuvenator and I use it still to this day all the time. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And so she has a new product too that she's just coming out with, which I'm excited to hear more about. But again, this light therapy that Leanne brought forward has been healing so many people I love, my family, my friends, a lot of them all use it. But even for me, it's just kind of blown my mind how, you know, this panel of light is just so specific of how it can go in and help heal and move energy around all the organs. So I thank you for that and honor you for that. And yeah, you know, wherever you want to pick up from with talking about dis-ease, let's jump in.
Okay, well, first of all, most people in general, not just in North America, we've been conditioned, to believe that we're just a bunch of chemistry and chemicals floating around this physical body. And so everything that most people tend to focus on, general, pharma-based, drug-based, or supplements-based, is all rooted in chemistry. And you need more magnesium, you need more vitamin D, you need more of this or that or the other thing. And, or you need these pharmaceuticals to fix this symptom, which then causes more and more problems. And obviously the pharmaceutical route never actually heals anything. It just masks one symptom and then creates 5 new problems with every drug that you take. So healing at the root of illness and disease involves looking at the energy system that is upstream from the physical body. So everything that happens as far as disruption in the physical body starts in the energy body, which is that, we are beings of energy and light. And the difference between you, Shannon, sitting here speaking with me, lovely, beautiful woman, right now, and talking, as opposed to you being like dead, laying on the floor, dead Shannon, and alive Shannon, you've got life force energy circulating in your energy body and physical body. And, we can talk about specifics, how it circulates through the meridians, the energy channels, and then the chakras where energy comes into the body. But the difference between you, alive, vibrant Shannon, and you, dead Shannon on the floor, is that life force energy. Western medicine and most approaches to any kind of health and healing, even a lot of natural healing modalities focus more on, here comes my cat, out of the way. can't see. Focus on chemistry and supplementation, or worse, drug pharmaceutical approach and surgeries, instead of realizing that the thing that makes you an alive person is that life force energy. And that is never discussed. So everything in our body is energy based and frequency based. So different organ systems resonate at different frequencies. They correlate with different colors also, which are, energy vibration. So each color has a different frequency to it. So I don't know how much you want to get into that, but we will, in a real world, situation, we've got, when people get deficient, if you think of it yourself as a car, so I like to use that analogy. Think of yourself as a car and you've got a gas tank, and your life force energy is what goes in that gas tank. And when you have a nice full gas tank, that means you can drive your car for a very long time. And if you keep that gas tank full, that means that you can drive indefinitely. So you want to always keep that gas tank nice and full and topped off. When people start getting sick, and this can go back to early childhood, it can be past life type stuff that you bring into this lifetime. But if you're sick, or there's any kind of disruption in the energy system, or that gas tank isn't full, that starts manifesting as problems and breakdown in the energy system. So like the energy is not flowing through the energy body, and the physical body is not getting the energy that it needs. And then different systems in the physical body start shutting down as a result of that lack of energy, or what I call kinks in the hose, where the energy is not flowing freely. There's like blockages, like a garden hose that has a big kink in it. So you focus on filling up the gas tank, and you focus on getting the kinks out of the hose. You have to do both, though. You have to get rid of the kinks, and you have to put gas in the gas tank. And then all those systems downstream start working again. So if you think in terms of like another metaphor, like, a beaver dam. You know what a beaver dam is? Like a beaver comes and builds a big dam and blocks off the flow of water. So it's like, okay, well, I don't want that flow of water blocked, because all the stuff downstream, all the animals that live down there, all the plants, they suddenly are getting choked off. They're not getting any of the water that they need because there's this giant beaver dam in the water. So everything downstream starts suffering because of the fact that there's this blockage. Kink in the hose, beaver dam, strawberry in the smoothie straw. There's different analogies that I'll use. So anything that is blocking that free flow of energy, everything downstream from there starts to suffer. And you start seeing, the animals are dying of thirst, the plants are dying because they're not getting the water. So you don't go try to fix the animals. You don't go try to fix the plants, because there's nothing wrong with them. The only thing wrong is that they're not getting the water that they need to be able to thrive and survive. And they're not getting the food they need that used to grow because the water was there. So you don't try to go and fix the animals and the plants, because that's not the root of the problem. You got to get rid of the beaver dam. You got to get rid of the kink in the hose. You got to get the smoothie out of the smoothie straw so you can drink your smoothie again. So that's what I focus on teaching people about, how to get rid of those blockages that are preventing everything downstream from working the way that it's supposed to. And also the fact that when you have these blockages, that consumes more and more of your life force energy. Because, so let's say it's like, a car that's spinning its wheels and revving its engine constantly, and it's using all that energy, but you're not going anywhere. So it's like creating heat, creating all this like stuck energy, and that makes you more and more depleted. So like if you think of when somebody's under stress, even being in an argument, you can be full of energy, and then you have an argument with somebody, and then you're like exhausted, because it just like sucks your life force energy and plummets you down. And if people have an ongoing thing that is like, what I call siphoning off the life force energy gas tank, where you've got all these straws, things that are basically sucking your life force energy on an ongoing basis, then you get so depleted that you're literally running on fumes. So your car is like, I can barely get to the next gas station. Then I put in 50 cents of gas, and then I can go to the next gas station. It's also like the cell phone analogy, like you keep your battery on your cell phone, you have to charge it up every night, because the battery, depending on how much you're using your phone, you're making a bunch of phone calls, you're on your screen all the time. If you don't use your phone at all, your battery will last like, you know, probably till the next day. But if you're on it constantly, you might have to recharge your battery, you know, at 5 o'clock in the evening before you've even gotten through the day. So we're just like that. We have things that deplete our battery, and some days our battery goes down faster than others. So the problem is a lot of people don't have a way of recharging their battery. They're not finding a way to put that energy back into the system. So the REDjuvenator is one of those things that, you know, like going out in nature, that's the way that we used to recharge our batteries naturally. You go spend time in nature, you get all that chi, prana, life force energy, there's different names for it, by being surrounded by trees, nature, running water, and that sort of thing. But a lot of people don't do that at all anymore. They don't spend time in nature. They're in the city all the time. They're in their apartment or their home, or they're in this hermetically sealed environment, or they're in, you know, a city with traffic and pollution and, you know, chaotic energy from all the other frenetic people that are there, and kind of like feeling frazzled, and you're picking up on that as well. All of that is like siphoning off this life force energy. And then again, people aren't putting energy back into the system. So they're relying on things like, you know, stimulants or coffee or things that keep them, you know, I got to get up in the morning and I'm like exhausted. So I need like 3 cups of coffee before I can even think of like leaving the house. You know, that's not fixing the problem. That's just a temporary, like artificial stimulation to get you, you know, from one gas station to the next, and then you're exhausted again. So you want to, again, address that deficiency at the root by putting energy right into the system and then getting rid of those blockages, beaver dams, strawberries in the straw, whatever analogy you like.
Beautiful.
That was a lot. That was a lot.
No, I love it.
I'm like throwing it. I just feel like throwing all these metaphors.
I was hanging
whichever
on
one you.
tight. I'm loving the analogies. And, you know, thank you for bringing to awareness, though, truly in all those examples of how important life force is to each and every one of us. And we're consistently creating, you know, these energetic blocks. And so if we can just kind of assess as we're moving through this conversation with Leanne, you know, where is our life force? You know, kind of really plug into yourself, feeling that, you know, do you feel any of these kinks, you know, happening in your body? And, you know, what are you plugging into that's draining you? Are you drinking that 5 pots of coffee? And, you know, just kind of tap in a little bit to your body and what's kind of, we may trigger a little few things, but, you know, let's kind of settle in and keep going. I love it.
Well, and that's a really good point, because a lot of times people are just going constantly. They never slow down enough to actually take time to tune in. And, you know, maybe they'll have a headache, and instead of like, okay, where's this headache coming from? And where's the blockage? Because they're not thinking in those terms. They're thinking there's something wrong with my head and I have to take this Tylenol to get rid of the headache. That's not a permanent solution ever. And then the Tylenol is going to create more problems, and the toxicity that you're putting in the system that then creates more beaver dams that blocks the free flow of energy. So it becomes a snowballing thing. And, you know, God forbid people are taking pharmaceuticals. You've got this, you've got high thyroid levels or whatever, or, you know, like, oh, you have cancer, we're going to start doing chemo or radiation on you, which is like, you know, weaken the body more, because the cancer isn't the problem. The problem is that there's the deficiency in the energy system. So everybody gets cancer cells. I mean, it's just part of like a normal process, but a healthy immune system, physical body and energy body immunity, and they're two things that go hand in hand. It's not just physical body immune system, it's energy body immune system. If you have weakness in that immunity, then the cancer cells can proliferate and turn into a tumor. But if you're healthy and your gas tank is nice and full and you don't have a bunch of kinks in your hose, that cancer can't turn into anything. It'll just get, you know, zapped. Your body's going to zap those cells like as they come up. Another analogy that I like to use, because it's so common, when people get shingles later in life, shingles is the herpes zoster virus that people in their 60s, you know, if they get a shingles outbreak, although I'm hearing of people younger and younger getting them now, but people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, they might get a shingles outbreak. they got that virus when they had chickenpox, when they were in first grade or second grade, you know, when they were a young child. And they've had that virus in their body their entire lives. And it's never been a problem. So the problem is not the virus. People think, oh, I have to kill this virus, I have to treat the virus. No, you don't have to treat the virus. It's been like hanging out in your body your entire life. It's perfectly fine as long as your physical body and energy body immunity stays strong. You're going to keep that virus at bay. It's not a problem. Same thing with Lyme disease. The Lyme is not the problem. All these viruses, HPV, EBV, things that flare up when somebody gets weak and they get depleted and their gas tank is running on fumes and they have these blockages in their energy system. The virus is not the problem, but people are conditioned to think I need to treat the virus. I need to do all these things to treat the virus. I need to supplement. I need to treat, you know, like make it so that I can't, you know, have the virus. It's like you do, but you need to focus on the energy system and strengthening that. And then when everything, when you've got that nice full gas tank and you don't have the kinks in the hose, the virus is like, okay, well, I'm hanging out, but I can't do anything because I'm kind of like behind this cage. I'm like stuck in this cage because you've got this nice, strong defense system now and it can't do anything. So, yeah, it's about changing the focus and the emphasis on looking at the root of the problem and healing the root and putting energy into the system and opening up the blockages. And again, that's exactly what the REDjuvenator does. So we have like tens of thousands of people around the world that have healed from, I mean, you name it, anything that you can think of, including stage 4 cancers, brain glioblastoma, all these things that they say are not healable or reversible. Tons of people, including a bunch of medical doctors, healing severe thyroid dysfunction where they've been medicated for years. And like within 1 to 2 weeks, they don't need the medication anymore. They're not taking the medication because they don't need it because the thyroid comes back into balance because you increase that life force energy. You open up the blockage that's preventing the thyroid from getting the energy that it needs. And then all of a sudden it starts working again. There's nothing wrong with the thyroid. You just need to get the energy back. Same thing when people injure something, like if they have a shoulder injury, like maybe they've, you know, picked up this, you know, I don't know, suitcase a million times or something that people do on a regular basis. And maybe it's something like as light as 10 pounds and they do it all the time. And then one day it's like they go to pick up that same thing and they tear their rotator cuff or, you know, they throw their shoulder out of alignment. And it's not the shoulder that's the problem. It's like a blockage in the energy. And it's often, shoulder things are often related to gallbladder, liver gallbladder energy blockages. And the meridian that goes through the shoulder and around the shoulder and the scapula and zigzagging over the head, the gallbladder meridian gets a big kink in the hose. The muscles that are supposed to be holding this joint in place aren't able to do their job anymore. So, you know, maybe it's overstimulated on one side. So one muscle is overcharging, the other is like deficient, not working. And that's when then the shoulder goes slightly out of alignment. And then the tendons and ligaments in the shoulder are being expected to do a job that they were never designed to do. They're not supposed to be lifting up even a 10-pound weight. They're just supposed to hold your joint there. The muscles are supposed to do the lifting. But if the muscles aren't working and then the shoulder gets out of alignment, that's when it's, you know, making other body parts that aren't supposed to do that job, and that's when they get torn, or torn meniscus in the knees, or torn ACL, things like that. So those injuries are always rooted in a blockage. There's like a kink in the hose, beaver dam, that's preventing that, the muscles that are supposed to be holding that joint or knee or whatever it is in proper alignment, and they're not able to do their job. So it's not a problem with the knee. It's like you need to fix the energy going to the muscles that would be doing their job properly and holding that joint in place. So you focus on that, you get the kinks out, you fill up the gas tank, and then you also heal locally where there's any injury, like where there's torn or damaged tissues. So again, the REDjuvenator does all of that. You know, within just a few weeks, it completely heals these things. I've had so many people that have had these kind of injuries, and the doctor's like, well, the only thing we can do for you is surgery. And that's your only recourse. And it's like, okay, well, that's painful. And then so many times the surgery doesn't actually fix the problem. They end up having more problems after, you know, especially knee surgery or, you know, like hip surgery. You hear it all the time. So anyway, you heal the root and you heal where the injury and the problem is all at the same time. And then you're not going to injure that. shoulder again, because it's permanently, it's fixed, it's healed. And as long as you're not continuing to do something that's creating that energy blockage in the first place. So again, being super stressed out all the time, that blocks the free flow of liver and gallbladder energy. Being, eating a super unhealthy diet, that blocks the free flow of energy. So, but this is where you so often, or like I hear this all the time, people, when they have a serious chronic illness, they first focus on diet, which is, they really need to focus on diet. That's very important. But then they clean up their diet. They start eating healthy. They start eating organic. They start eating grass-fed beef. They start eating all these things that they know are going to be good for them, and eating real food. Maybe historically they were eating all processed refined foods or junk food or fast food. They clean up all that stuff. And what they see is like an improvement in their health. It goes up to a certain level and then they plateau. It's like, it doesn't get them all the way, because that's not enough. They haven't addressed putting the energy, the deficient energy, back into the system, and they haven't addressed getting rid of those kinks, and they haven't addressed getting rid of all the toxins that have accumulated in their physical body and their energy body because of all those kinks that were blocking that stuff, the liver, gallbladder, not work, physical organs not working the way that they're supposed to, spleen, stomach not able to assimilate nutrients from the food, liver, gallbladder not able to detoxify on an ongoing basis like they're supposed to, because they're not getting the energy that they need, so they can't do their job effectively. It's kind of like you've got a bunch of, laborers working for you, and you're like, well, come to work, but don't eat anything, and we're not going to give you any water to drink, but we want you to work constantly. And then you're like, they're going to work for like, I don't know, half an hour, and then they're going to pass out. I need food and water. It's like, no, get up and work. You can't expect the physical, organs to do the job that they're supposed to be doing if you don't give them the food and water, the energy that they need. So that was another long tangent,
and
rant,
whatever. The physical movement to be, the gateway to allow in the chi and so forth. But yeah, no, the way you're explaining it is the way we all need to hear it. It's been interesting how, going to the root was never a thing. It was for many cultures and so forth, but
oh yeah,
a lot
historically,
of people, it's so scary to go to the depths of their bodies and consciousness, and whether we're exploring limited beliefs, whether we're exploring what's going on with the body and the pathways, detoxification, but it's so beautiful now how consciousness has shifted, where we are exploring the root of our problem. We are getting so intuitive with the consciousness of our bodies, because our bodies speak in volumes, and those kinks, we knew those kinks were coming. You know what I mean? It's like you can.
Oh, they give you plenty of warning before they actually show up and start making you uncomfortable. They give you lots and lots of clues, and your consciousness is going, hey, can you pay attention to me? Because you've got this thing that, or maybe you're on the wrong tangent, the wrong path of your life. Like, it's making you, have these blockages, make you unhappy and unhealthy. And like, can you like kind of veer and get back on the right path? And you're like, la, 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 not listening, not, and then your body's like, well, your consciousness, through using your body to talk to you, is like, okay, well, you're not listening to me, so I'm going to, make you get sick all the time. How about you catch a cold all the time? Or how about you have allergies where you're allergic to everything, and then it makes you really miserable. And then, okay, well, you're still not paying attention to that. Let's see, like, let's step up the game and make it even worse. And let's like now make you so that you're so sick, and then you get bronchitis. And now you're laid up in bed for 10 days. You can't, go to work. And it's like, you're still not listening. You're still going to try to rely on those drugs and medications. Then let's, amp it up further and make you really sick. And now, like, let's build some cancer in your body. And, it's just kind of like, we get lots and lots of clues. And then a lot of times they go back, decades for many people. Because I can dissect very quickly when I get on phone calls with people within like 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, I can tell them exactly where the root of all, they tell me, okay, what are your physical symptoms? What have you got going on? When did these problems start? What was going on in your life then? and then go back there, and what was your childhood like, and what was, okay, and okay, then, relationships and stuff like that. But I can zero in pretty quickly, and it's like, okay, so everything basically started back here. This exacerbated it, and all of that stuff is basically, sucking that life force energy. All of those new stressors that you're adding in are depleting you further and further, and then it's a snowballing effect. So you get breakdown in one system, and then it affects the next system, everything downstream, just like those animals, starving and the plants dying and stuff like that. That's not the problem. The problem is way up here, the beaver dam, where the beaver, like, who let the beaver come and build the dam in the first place, So
yeah, the energy blockages are just, they're no joke. And it's when you kind of zero in on the body's intelligence and where that pain is coming from, or the body's talking to you, there is a story tied to it. And so there's a lot you can question about yourself, instead of getting on Google and researching every gnarly dis-ease connected to that. We need to tune inward and really focus in on, okay, this pain is in these areas around these organs. What is the energy blockage there? Was there old injuries? Again, it's like Leanne and I, we were having this conversation earlier. It's, the body structure is brilliant and it's resilient, and it will go right back if you unblock. But it does really take zeroing in on that root of, where's this kink coming from? Where is this like taking all my physical wherewithal? And, what would you suggest when like narrowing in on that for somebody, for someone who's so new to this? And they obviously, our bodies are intelligent, we're intelligent, but if someone's having these little bits and pieces of trauma and they can feel it within their body that something is off balance, what are your first steps for them to kind of zero in?
Well, one of the things that I saw over and over again years ago when I was an Eastern medicine physician, and one of the things that I trained extensively in is it's called Hakomi. It's body-centered psychotherapy. And you could very quick, because I'm very intuitive and an empath, I could very quickly zero in energetically on where a blockage was in somebody's body. But you just pay attention, like me as the practitioner, I could say, hey, like I noticed that you are, you're talking about this thing and you keep, like you're doing this, or, you're or like you're rubbing your hand. Like there are these self-soothing things that, this is just an example. There, there's limitless numbers of them, but, rubbing the hand as they're talking and telling me about something, maybe with their childhood or, something. And then you're like, oh, are you aware of the fact that you're doing that? It's again, and you're just calling attention to it for that person, bringing it to their awareness. And it's like, oh yeah, I never really paid attention. I don't know why I do that. I don't know why I have this little, like when I'm talking about certain things, my face, like there were like all kinds of things that people do, or, like, whatever it is that they're doing. So becoming aware of the little things that you do yourself. And then like, if you tune in with that thing, or where you feel like I feel pain in my body, it can be like I have a stomach ache or I have a headache. Tuning in to where the blockage of energy is, or behaviors or habits or things that people do. So if you tune in and like literally just put your awareness there, you will almost always get something. Like it'll be like a little flash of awareness, like like when I showed you the green rejuvenator a minute ago, and you immediately started talking about, one of the health things. And it's like you get these instant downloads, like this connection and this awareness. It's like, oh, and then, but usually you're like, I don't know why I'm thinking about that time when I was in the 3rd grade and my mother didn't pick me up. I don't know where that came from. Like you just kind of like, you're like, okay, go away. I don't want to think about you. Because, that's not a pleasant memory. So people will just kind of keep these things, they'll tend to suppress them. And you get these opportunities to have them come up, but you're like, no. Or you're like so busy and like going from one thing to another, you never slow down enough to actually tune in. So a big part of, like, again, what I teach people is to slow down enough and just tune in and become aware of, the fact that no, you don't have a problem with your shoulder. I know your doctor tells you that, oh, it's like you've got a defective shoulder and you need surgery. You don't have a defective shoulder. You just have a shoulder that's not temporarily not getting the energy that it needs. There's nothing wrong with the shoulder, nothing wrong with your thyroid, nothing wrong with any of you. It's just about unblocking that flow of energy. Where the blockages come from, that depends on the energy system that's affected. And so, talking about liver gallbladder energy, that's a big one in our society, because people are often under so much stress. They put so much pressure on themselves. They have all these expectations for themselves, or the family had expectations for them, or whatever, and there's this high pressure, like, to succeed and compete and all of this stuff about, it's going against our natural flow, which is to just literally, you want to go with the flow in your life. You get in the body of water, and the stream takes you along effortlessly, and you just float. You don't have to be like, trying to swim upstream and all this stuff. You get in the water, and the water takes you downstream. And if you're not struggling and fighting, you just kind of float along, and that's being in flow. But so often people do things like, well, I'm going to take this job. I've got 2 job offers, and that one sounds like a lot more fun to me. But these guys have a way better medical package. They've got better medical insurance. And what if I get sick and I need that medical insurance and I need that for my family and all of that? And it's like, yeah, but you're going to be much happier doing this job, and you're not going to be getting sick because you're going to be recharging yourself by doing something that keeps you happy and fulfilled. This one's going to be depleting you every single day. So yeah, you're going to be needing that medical insurance because you don't want to do that job, and you're taking a job because of I can't tell you how many times I hear this from people. It's like, why did you take that job? Why are you working in that field? Well, I keep that job because it's got really good medical benefits. Like, if you are strong and healthy and doing something that makes you happy and fulfilled, you don't need the medical insurance benefits because you're not going to be getting sick. So it's kind of we've been programmed for so many decades, since Big Pharma really got its stronghold, that this is how you treat illness and disease. You focus on medicating symptoms and surgically removing body parts that are temporarily not working because, oh, your gallbladder doesn't work. Let's just cut that out. Your tonsils don't work. Cut those out. Or actually, your tonsils aren't working the way they're supposed to, but you have like so much toxin in your system that it's like they're getting inflamed all the time. So let's just get rid of those. That's what they used to do. That's when I had my tonsils removed when I was little. But so many people that have, surgeries, let's take your ovaries out. Let's take out your uterus because it's causing you pain. You get, all these things that people get literally butchered because they get talked into, this isn't working, you're defective, and we're going to take out that body part. Or, like your bone isn't healing. Elderly people that never, they break a bone and it never heals because they don't have enough life force energy, and their kidney energy, which controls the bones, is so weak. That bone can't heal because it doesn't have enough energy to heal. So again, I've got people in their 90s that have healed broken bones in 4 weeks. That is unheard of even in a young child. It usually takes a minimum of 6 to 12 weeks to heal a bone. And that's like to get the bone set. And then it will often take months more after that to truly heal. And sometimes people break a bone when they're a child and they have, pain for the rest of their life in that bone because it never fully heals, even when they do it as a child. So it's only because it doesn't have enough energy to do the healing properly. And when people are elderly, they usually don't, bones just won't heal because their gas tank is running too low. So you put energy into the system, you heal it directly, and the bone heals very, very quickly. And, but you have to focus on, again, fixing the root of the problem. But the doctor will tell you, okay, well, your bone's not going to heal. So we're going to put a metal plate in there. We're going to fuse your shoulder to your collarbone, and you'll never be able to lift your arm up over you. And this is what happens with a lot of elderly people. They get the surgery because they break something, and they're like, okay, now this is as far as you'll ever be able to lift your arm again because we put this metal plate in there just so you can, your arm doesn't fall off or whatever. And then it's a huge problem for them the rest of their lives. Same thing, people get their gallbladder. it's like, okay, well, now you can never eat anything fatty. They have problems for the rest of their life because they, that organ was removed. You can get around it, you can fix it, but most people don't know that. And again, because they're conditioned to thinking that, these parts are disposable. We're just going to take them out. You don't need it, or we're going to replace it with something else. And then they have all these other problems. So tuning in to your physical body, there are always these direct connections to your consciousness. Where did this beaver dam come from in the first place? Who let the beaver in? Like who gave the beaver permission to build the dam? So, and it's always us, right? So
we're always accountable for our creations, even though there's a lot of victim programming going on. But there's so many different programs that built the beaver dam. I know. But and that is with the tuning. It's not only just attuning to the root cause of the body, because that's all happening. It's intelligent. But it's, where is your consciousness at with all of this? Are you tying a program to that area where you don't want to, look at it because there's victim consciousness in there and so forth? Yeah. There's a lot of signals going on. What were you going to say?
One thing on that note is that our society, unfortunately, people often get rewarded for the victim behavior. They get positive reinforcement for that because, they'll go on Facebook and put, oh, I was just diagnosed with this. And then everybody gloms on and goes, oh, poor you. I'm so sorry that that's happening to you and all this stuff. And then they get, oh my God, all these people care about me. And it's like, and then as the disease progresses, then they're like, they post about it and they get, and it may be social media, it may be just immediate, people that they know or people in their community or family members. And they get a lot of attention for having that problem that they never got that attention before because they didn't know how to nurture themselves and take care of that, and that need that they have to take care of themselves. And all of a sudden they get sick. And then they have all these people that are like, oh my God, poor you. It's like, you're a victim and we hope you get better. And it's like, that's terrible that this is happening to you. And it's always, this is happening to you. And again, it's like this social conditioning thing. So people are like, I've seen people, they've had cancer and they, like when I was working as an Eastern medicine physician, I was specializing and worked with cancer patients. And I'd have some people, they'd call me up and it's like, hey, I heard about you from blah, blah, blah. That wouldn't even be the first thing. They would say, hi, I have cancer and blah, blah, blah. I heard about you from blah, 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 blah. But they won't tell me their name. It's like, that's their introduction. I have cancer and blah, 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 blah. And I can't get a word in edgewise. And then finally it's like, okay, so do you want to tell me your name? But that's how they identify themselves. I have cancer. It becomes, or whatever the diagnosis is, they become, I have Lyme disease. I have, some of the big ones where there are these big communities that are all, support groups for this problem, cancer groups or Lyme disease groups, which is great. But a lot of times they are rewarding that kind of behavior by saying, oh, my pigment, you know what I mean? So sometimes people will be like, okay, if I heal from my cancer, or I heal from the Lyme, or I heal from whatever it is that I've got, that I've been getting all this attention for the first time in my life, and I'm really liking all this attention, even though it's like victimhood oriented attention, they'll be like, okay, but what happens if I heal? Then all this attention is going to go away. And obviously this is at a subconscious level. They're not consciously thinking, I don't want to heal because then I'm going to lose all this tension. So that's where sometimes people will get blocked because it's like, okay, they start improving, but then it's like, oh, but what happens if I don't have the cancer anymore? Like I have to drag this out. I have to milk it for as long. And again, not consciously, but this is unconsciously doing this subconsciously. And then they'll like, okay, well, why am I not healing? And then in a few minutes, like, okay, well, do you really want to heal? Are you ready to heal? Are you ready to let go of this illness? Because all our illnesses and dis-ease, whatever it comes from, whether it's an injury or an illness, a disease, definition of disease, or chronic deficiency, fibromyalgia, all these definitions and diagnoses that come up, they're all opportunities for us to learn and grow from. And all we have to do is like shine a spotlight on that and go, hey, this is an opportunity for me to learn so much about myself. And you hear all the time, you know, people that came through and survived from their cancer and, you know, healed from it, especially, you know, that took charge of their life and didn't do the Western medical chemo radiation, which often, unfortunately, is what people end up dying from, the treatment, not the actual cancer. And they come through that, the people that learn how to get self-empowered through that illness or challenge, they come through and they're like, oh my God, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. If I had not gotten sick, I would not be where I am now. I would not have changed the trajectory that my life was on. And I wouldn't be, you know, now a happy, fulfilled person. I had no idea I was on the wrong track, because it's all about what's our greater purpose here. Why are we here in the first place? We're not here just to take up space. You know, we're here for, everybody has a purpose in this lifetime and can contribute when they realize this is my actual role. This is what I came into this lifetime to do. And so often people are like, but I have to get a job and I have to pay the bills and I have to take that job that I hate because it's got good insurance. It's programming.
Yeah, that's the brilliance of the body. The body will tell you better.
Yeah. I know. Just listen. Listen. Tune in.
No, it's beautiful. I like how you're tying in, you know, our programming, like as you were kind of talking about that. I see it a lot even in my practice, and when I'm doing healings, it's a lot of what's causing a lot of the blockages is, you know, people are so addicted to suffering. And it's so subconscious. And I know we don't like to hear that, but it really is. It's a looping system in the body that's creating that energetic dam. And we really are addicted to our suffering. And so we stay in this very like, you know, it's like this servitude to suffer, you know, because you can't unhinge from it because we haven't felt the frequencies in our body that are so much higher. And when we are in this, you know, when your body is fueling up and it's energetically working the way it should, because all the pathways are purified and cleaned, or you're just in a different frequency because you've been doing your work, it's scary to maintain that. You know, it's like we have a hard time staying in this purification. We would rather like go smoke a vape or weed or something to either take it down or drink like 20 cups of coffee to take it up. So another thing I noticed too with consciousness is people are afraid to be in their home frequency. They're afraid to be in the natural rhythm of their body, you know, and what would that be like? And even when they tap into it, it's almost so foreign to them of what the natural frequency is. And it takes time. It's like, it's really such a practice to know your body on that level. And really all you have to do is to attune to it every day. But, you know, coming into this frequency that is naturally yours, and your body will naturally gravitate towards that if you give it all the tools, is something to strive for, but it'll also unlock any dis-ease. You know? Yeah,
and I like the way you talk about that, because it's like sometimes we'll do things, you know, like, oh my God, you know, getting up early in the morning when you don't normally do that, and it's so peaceful and quiet. You're like, I should do this more often because this feels great. You know, it feels amazing to me. And you're like, but then you're like, how often do you actually do it? Anything that's not part of your normal routine. You know, oh, it feels great to go for this walk in the woods. I should do this more often, you know, and you're like, but when's the next time you go for a walk? Like 3 months later, I haven't done it you know, because all these simple little things that we can do that we know feel amazing and keep us charged up and energize that energy body and are in alignment with our natural frequency, we know what they are. And we just don't make the time to do them. And I talk about the fact that people will often put in their calendar, I have to go get my car fixed, I have to get my oil changed, I have to go get, you know, like I have to go to the dentist. these things that you don't want to do that are unpleasant. And you're like, I have to, whatever, clean my closet or or actually that's probably one of those things that people put on the back burner. It's like keeping your house clean and decluttered and helping the energy flow. But the things that are really nurturing for us and, taking time, like when I teach my creative flow training program, and it's like I teach this technique where people can use kinesthetic, there's a combination of like drawing and using color and stuff like that. And it's a very easy technique and you get into flow state, the zone immediately, like it's 100% effective. But then it's very easy to not, okay, well now I have this amazing thing and it feels amazing to do it. And you're like, okay, well, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. I'll do it, so you have to have some kind of like structured plan when you want to create a new habit in your life, whatever it is, something that's nurturing and nourishing that you already know is really good for you, but we won't schedule it in because that's not as important as going to get my oil changed. Like we take better care of our car sometimes than we do our own car. This is our car in a lifetime. We take care of this car, this machinery that we drive around. People will focus on keeping their oil changed and their air filter clean, putting in good gas, and they won't do the same thing for their own. This is your main car in life. So there are things that we know, we intuitively know, we already know. It's like just taking some downtime for me, going and being alone, going and laying on the grass, sitting under a tree, whatever it is, simple things. And we know that they feel good and they know that they charge us up, but we won't schedule it in. So it's a matter of like, you have to make it a priority to take time to do those things that nurture and nourish yourself and make it a number one priority. And the thing about, I always talk about when you're on the airplane and they give you the lecture at the beginning, if anything happens with the plane, you're going to see an oxygen mask down from the ceiling. Do not take care of your children or your other family members first. You put that oxygen mask on yourself first, because if you don't do that, you're going to pass out. You won't be able to help the others. So people in the healing arts are, particularly guilty of this, where we forget to take care of ourselves first. You always have to take care of putting that oxygen mask on yourself so that you can be around to help the others. And if you're in the healing arts or not, or even you have a family, you have pets, it doesn't matter. You need to take care of yourself so that you have the energy and the desire and that flow of energy to be able to take care of the people or the pets or whatever, your patients or your clients, so that you're here fully charged up so you can do the best to, pay that energy forward. And again, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. So schedule in the things that keep you charged up.
Beautiful. Yeah, definitely on that note. Well, I have about 10 more minutes before I have to move on. Did you want to talk a little bit about the Rejuvenator for 10 minutes?
Oh.
Or do you want to save that for next time and just, we can kind of...
No, we can talk about it because it's such, it's such an easy way to, like, again, for myself, for people, especially, go all the time. I never sit down. I mean, like me sitting here doing this interview is unusual. I literally never sit down all day long. I have so much energy. I'm going. And in the evening, I watch streaming video or I read a book. But more often I'll watch streaming video and then I do my recharge at night. So I use the thing that I created and invented, downloaded, I use as much for my own benefit. And like you, I keep using it. It's not like I healed all the problems that I had. I had a non-functioning liver for decades. I had so much pain in my body all the time. I mean, just all the time. I had severe retinal thinning, because liver energy controls the eyes. And not only the fact that my eyes were already weak and deficient, but then using running my company from my blue light emitting phone screen, which severely thins retinas even more. So, healing all of that stuff for myself, I've benefited from it so much, as much as any of my customers have, and I continue to benefit from it, and staying healthy and, strong immune function of the physical body and the energy body. I would not use it if I couldn't do it while I'm doing something else, because I have to be doing multiple things at one time. So I have to be able to do my treatments while I'm watching streaming video, because if I have to take to do one thing, like I just wouldn't do it. So knowing my own limitations about, like, I don't sit down except for, at night. I wanted to make it so easy that people, it's like, feels amazing to do the treatments, but you have to be able to be sitting down to do them. So you're like, people that are going all the time, it's like, you can do it while you're working on the computer. You can do treatments while you're eating breakfast or eating dinner or, doing a podcast. I've had people that are like, they're talking on the phone. Like, I have to talk to my clients and they're doing the REDjuvenator treatments. But anyway, I'll show you what it looks like. But this is, so it's a panel that you can use, and it's much more than light therapy. It's it's got the energy medicine component. That's a huge part, because it's putting energy into the energy body, and the energy, see, I don't know if you can see, but this is the number 3 formulation. This is the universal that most people get when they're only getting one formulation. They get the universal.
Do you want to turn it more towards us to see if we can feel into that?
But I think it just, yeah. Okay. It looks like it's all illuminating the same.
Yeah, and just see, audience, if you can. I can already feel the frequencies coming from that. So we just want to give you a few seconds to just feel into this, and let your body, my body's just vibrating, but love it. And then go ahead, Leanne.
So yeah, you can kind of see there's a pattern, and you can barely, because there's a combination of, in this one, visible red and near infrared, which are invisible, but there you can kind of see the pattern. If I hold it really at an angle, and you see that, the diagonal, and then these clusters, now you can kind of see, and the different reds that are in there. So it's multiple frequencies of visible and invisible light, plus the quantum healing energies that are healing at the root by putting energy into the system and opening up the energy blockages. That's not something like, I thought about light therapy, the science of light therapy, but a light therapy device alone will not do that. It won't do all of that, because it doesn't have the additional quantum healing energies so a light therapy device will put energy, light into the skin and the tissues, and wherever it can reach, wherever it can go through, penetrate those, but it won't go through the energy in the meridian system like this does. And it will, this will go deep into the physical body, but also, again, it fills up that gas tank. So people at the beginning, in the first week, they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize I had so much anxiety all the time. I didn't realize I was constantly like, and then they're all of a sudden, within the first 2 days, all that chatter and that chaotic energies, like, they're like, I feel happy. Like, I didn't realize I wasn't happy until now. I really feel happy. I have all this joy. I hear that one all the time, because you've got this zzz that's constantly there, because you've got this gerbil running on the treadmill constantly, and you're like using all this energy and like sucking your life force energy by all this stress and chaotic energy and the stuff that we were talking about, even negative entities and things like that can latch onto you, or negative people that are giving off negative toxic energy that you're picking up on, that are maybe that or in your work or in your social circle or in your family. And we're subject to that sort of thing when your energy body is already weak. It's really hard to not resist, but to just like let that bounce off you, like a duck, like the water just feeds off a duck. So when you're healthy and you're strong, all that stuff just like doesn't touch me, doesn't affect me, doesn't deplete me, because I don't take it on. So when you're strong, you're able to, kind of repel that stuff. It doesn't, you don't absorb it, you don't take it on, which then further depletes you. So that energy is a really integral part of the whole healing process, no matter what. I mean, even people that just feel like, I'm so tired all the time, and maybe they don't have any illness or disease yet, other than getting depleted, getting colds frequently, or, like, oh, I have stomach aches all the time, or headaches, or migraines, or whatever it is. Those initial signs that there's something blocked there, and your gas tank is getting dangerously low. Yeah. So yeah, it does, it takes care of all of that. So
The
that's where,
Rejuvenator, yeah, it's fantastic and it's healing thousands. It's this product has been around for over a decade or longer at this point.
no, I only
Oh,
launched
it's
5.5 years ago. Yeah, I started teaching about the science of light therapy 17 years ago, but I was emphatic about, nope, I'm not going to sell a product. I don't want to manufacture. I didn't want to do anything after, I analyzed it afterwards. Like, why did I have such resistance for more than 10 years to creating my own product? Because I hated engineering so much. I didn't hate engineering. I hated the engineering realm, that black and white kind of mentality where it's like, there's no room for conversation because this is the way things are done. So I found that in that kind of a corporate environment very depleting to me. I didn't want to do anything that felt like that, where I'm like manufacturing my own product, doing something that feels like engineering. Turned out the universe said, you're doing this whether you want to or not. Like so many of the things that I do in my life that are like, that seems like it's gonna be a lot of work. I don't want to do it. And then it's like I do, it's like, oh, that really just, because you're in flow, that was actually painless and effortless. I was creating all this drama in my head. So 5.5 years ago, I launched. So we have tens of thousands of people around the world using the Rejuvenator. I've never spent a dime on advertising. It's all word of mouth. So to this day, word of mouth, all word of mouth. So it's like from the launch, about 300, more than 300 people bought at that Bulletproof conference. When I was a speaker, I was an invited speaker. I wasn't planning on launching the product when I was invited at the beginning of 2016. This was at the end of 2016, the conference. And in the meantime, that year, 2016, the universe said, you're going to do this and you have an opportunity to, anyway, it's a longer story, but then I ended up launching this. It all came about, it all manifested quite quickly. And so about 300, and we would have sold a lot more if it hadn't been this backlog and limitations of the technology of processing the payments at the thing. But anyway, so that first 300, then it just went, and they told two friends, and they told two friends, and they told two friends, and so on and so on. And that's how it's grown organically, and it continues to grow that way. Every day I get new people coming into the community, and they're almost always from my friend or family member or medical doctor, whatever, told me about the Rejuvenator, or I tried it from my friend or family member, or sometimes they see my YouTube videos. That's another way people come in, but it's almost always word of mouth from direct, relaying from
it
other people that have.
works. Yeah, it's like it's word of mouth, and I hear people talking about it all the time still. It's like, you know what I mean? But you have
The great thing is,
you have a great community. Like the way you set it up, we all have a voice in your community and can share what we're healing. And these aren't little minor kinks. Like people are healing, tumors, you name it. It's like you will go into this group and see that everything has kind of been put at play here with the Rejuvenator and had fantastic results. And I think what we'll do, Leanne, is next time in a couple weeks, why don't we just dedicate talking about the Rejuvenator and how it works? And we'll kind of move along there. But for people in the audience, where can we find you? Where do you want to suggest they go?
Yeah, so sometimes people Google my name, Leanne Venier, and I have a website, leannevenier.com, because when I was a professional artist, another iteration of my life after I left engineering, but catalyticcolor.com, CATALYTIC, like catalytic converter, but catalytic color, COLOR.com, is my website where the science of light therapy and the energy medicine, the Rejuvenator, that's all on that website. Although if you go to leannevenier.com, that will bump you over. If you click on anything, it'll take you over to catalyticcolor.com. So either one of those, leannevenier.com, LEANNE, V as in Victor, ENIER, or ideally just go right to catalyticcolor.com. And then, I've got a bunch of videos on YouTube. If you go on YouTube, although now with the algorithm on YouTube, they bump down natural healing more and more and favor very short soundbite videos, as you probably know. And so, but anyway, catalyticcolor.com, CATALYTICCOLOR.com. That'll take you to the Rejuvenator. You can learn more about the universal and the different formulations. But like I said, the universal is one that about 98% of my customers get when they're getting one formulation. And it will, then there's the page, which I haven't updated in a few months because I'm not very good about updating my website. But yeah, like hundreds and hundreds of testimonials from real people that are in the real community. And the community is one where I wanted everybody to be able to connect and talk to each other, which most companies, it's like, that's the kiss of death, because we don't want people talking to each other about, hey, I spent thousands of dollars and it doesn't work. And the REDjuvenator is like in the $600 price point as opposed to thousands of dollars. So anyway, that's where everybody gets to talk to each other, ask questions, get free ongoing healing guidance and support, and from me and my apprentices. So it's a really amazing support community. And my goal is just to teach everybody how to understand how everything is healable and reversible. You have complete control of your health. You don't have to be, you know, buy into this whole dogma about like, you've got this problem and you've got bad DNA and all this other mythology that people have been conditioned to believe. You're perfect the way you are. You just need to get the gas tank filled up, get the kinks out of the hose, and everything will start working. And then, you know, bring up those issues, like where did they come from in the first place? Because things that we don't want to look at, we need to shine a spotlight on where did beaver come from in the first place. So
beautiful. Yeah, I love it. Thank you. I know we jam-packed a lot and we could go on and on, but Leanne and I we're gonna pick up here and there and talk about color therapy, and we'll talk more about the REDjuvenator. And you know, for the most part, this conversation is just to get you all thinking. You know, there's so many alternatives to what has been expressed to us, you know, when it comes to pain and disease and all this chronic illness and stuff. It really comes down to our consciousness, the intelligence of our consciousness, and our energetic bodies. And the body is just so intelligent. And so we hope that this podcast today just brings awareness, you know, tap in a little bit, jump on Leanne's website. You know, you truly are a gift to us. You know, you pump out so much information. And so there's a lot there to get to know oneself. And yeah, we'll be back and we'll talk about the REDjuvenator, because there's a lot to talk about this light therapy that many, including myself, have and love. So any last words, my dear?
No, I always love talking with you, Shannon. It's been a joy as always. And we have great conversations. So I always appreciate you for all the work you're doing in the world.
Love you. Appreciate you.
Love you too. Yeah.
And
thank you for doing all the work, the amazing stuff, including the most recent amazingness that you've added into your life. And now, yeah, staying healthy and strong and being able to bring these gifts out into the world. It's very important.
Thank you. Audience, we love you. We will be back. And I'm going to sign off for now. So this is Quantum Heart Conversations. And until next time, ciao.
Bye.